Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Today's video is one of the different type ones. You know, I'm a knife maker, so most of my videos are about knives, making knives, sharpening knives, you know, modifying them, all that kind of stuff. But I also like to do the stuff that goes along with knives, which is just about everything, you know, so fishing. I don't think I've done a whole lot of hunting videos. I've done some air rifle reviews and some gun modification stuff like that. You know, as in the pursuit of hunting, you know, not anything else. But today we're going to do a little bit about cooking. So the other day I ended up getting a Ozark Trail 12-inch Dutch oven. It's got the lid, you know, to hold the coals. And this one has the still has the feet on it, you know, to hold it up above your coals so that you can put coals underneath and you can put coals on top. So I found it and it was kind of a rusted wreck, and I thought, you know, I'm going to clean that thing up and, you know, maybe make dinner with it. We had some nice warm days. I want to say New Year's Day was, I think we got up to a high of 6 degrees that day. And then since then we've been warming up, and today it was like 54 degrees. I couldn't believe it. So I did spend a little bit of time outside, so that was nice. But so I went to clean this one up and it was a wreck. I mean, it wasn't rusted all that bad, in bad condition like that. The wreck part of it was really the condition of the pot as it must have left the factory. You can see there's quite a bit of movement here on the lid, back and forth. The lid rocked like, oh my gosh, I mean, it was horrible. So I put a flashlight, you know, one of these flashlights, turned it on, put it inside, put the lid back on, shut off the lights, and then rotated the lid around to see, you know, what was going on. And right over here there was a gap. I measured it with a feeler gauge, and it was a little bit over 40 thousandths of an inch thick. So, or, you know, much of a gap. So 40 thousandths is a gap like that you could see light through. I mean, it was just awful. So I ended up machining the lip of the pot to where it would fit much closer. I think I got it down to within about 10 thousandths or so. Then I sanded the inside down with a paint stripper attachment for an electric drill, and that seemed to work pretty good. It's still not a very even casting. I mean, not near like what you see on the new Lodge pots, like at Sportsman's Warehouse or something like that. It was really rough, but I got it to where it was serviceable, and cooked ribs in it the other night, and they came out pretty good. And then not only did they taste good, but the next day nobody was dead. Nobody was even sick, which means that I did good. I am not a very good cook, but I am willing. My wife works a full-time job away from the house, so dinner's on me most nights. And like I said, I'm not good, but I'm willing, and so, you know, I mean, I cook, and so far we're all still alive, so I figure that's pretty good. So anyway, so when I was cooking the meal with this one, what I found was that I really didn't care for the feet all that much. I was looking through, you know, other YouTube videos to find recipes and kind of the general idea about how all this works, and I found, I think his name's Kent Rollins, not only a very knowledgeable fella on, you know, the videos that I watched, but also pretty funny too. I mean, he's got a really good sense of humor. But he was suggesting the use of these trivets, apparently made out of horseshoes, because apparently cast iron cooking is cowboy cooking, and you can't have cowboy cooking or do it right unless you make your trivets out of horseshoes. So, so I made one of these trivets, and the pot spent the majority of the time on that trivet. And then when I went to bring it into the house, I had to grab an old cutting board, you know, to put on the countertop so that, you know, the feet wouldn't dig into the countertop or the glass top stove, anything like that. So what I did was, we'll get that one out of the way. and then we'll save that one for last. I grabbed this one. Now, I haven't cooked anything in this one recently, and it is a 12-inch also. It doesn't have a manufacturer's name on it, but what it does have on the bottom, you see it used to have legs. I actually ground those legs off, oh, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, something like that. It has a 12 and then it has a R right over the top of it. So, you know, I mean, whatever that means. I'm sure a cast iron collector would be able to tell me, but I don't know one. What I was after was a heavy duty pot to take to elk camp. And our elk camp is the very traditional canvas wall tents with the wood burning stoves. And our wood burning stove, you know, it's flat on top. And with these legs here, I mean, I wanted a tough pot that I could take our first meal up of the camp, you know, so that we didn't have to cook that night after we were done setting up the tents, setting up the stoves, getting all the firewood, getting all settled in and everything. You know, that way we could just grab the pot out of the truck. It was already loaded with, you know, all the canned stuff to make the meal. It was a backpacker stew. And all we have to do is open up the cans, toss it in there, set it on the stove, you know, once the stove was up and running. And then we didn't really have to cook for that night, you know. And this was the biggest pot that I had, and it was cast iron, so it's tough. But those legs were in the way. So, honestly, I took an angle grinder and ground them off. But, which means that you can't set it directly over the coals anymore. But what that Rollins fellow was saying was that apparently most of the time he doesn't really like the legs anyway. He uses one of these trivets. So this one right here, I'm going to go ahead and cook a meal Sunday night. We got some friends coming over tomorrow night, so we've already got plans for that. But Sunday night I went ahead and I took out a nice rump roast from a buffalo that I butchered last year, I think. Something like that. I want to say he was a 2 or a 3-year-old bull. Anyways, a friend of mine ordered him, and he asked me to go up to Douglas and help him butcher it. And so I did, and I ended up buying some of the meat off of him while I was there. So anyway, and that's only going to need this smaller pot, so I'll have to find something to cook with this pot. But I kind of think I'm going to like the whole, you know, the rimmed lid, so that I can cook it out on the fire pit, and then the flat bottom, you know, with the trivet. That way it keeps it up off the coals. But then when I grab the pot to come inside, you know, I mean, I'll still need to put a cutting board down, but I could set it right on top of the glass stove and, you know, not have to worry about them legs, you know, scratching up the stove top, or and they just kind of seem to get in the way, really. I don't know. I mean, the jury's out on that. I'm not going to grind the legs off the other one. I'm going to leave it like it is for a while. This one is going to be the subject of this video. All right. This here, this is my grandmother's. And I want to say that she said that it was my grandfather's mother's before she got it. My grandmother is 92 years old. So this, I'll have to ask her about it. I got to take her to the eye doctor on Monday, so I'll ask her about it when I see her. But it's a pretty old pot, and the thing that I'm really kind of liking about this one is how there's no work to be done. I mean, sure, it's dirty because it's been in storage for a while, but look at the bottom of that thing. I mean, it's just as, I mean, there's some scratch marks where somebody used you know, probably something metal to scrape the bottom of it. But, I mean, it's as smooth as glass inside that pot. Yeah, it needs cleaned up and re-seasoned and everything, but it's all smooth. There's no legs to grind off the bottom. This one says Wagner Ware. The W is the beginning of Wagner and the beginning of Ware. Sydney, and then a dash with a 0 and another dash. And then here at the bottom it says 126B Looks like kind of maybe a 2 also. Whatever that means. But it's smooth inside. The lip of the lid's in really nice shape. And when I set it on there, there is no side wiggle. And you can tell just by looking at the seam around here. I mean, that's, my goodness, that's probably, you know, on this side right here and this side right here, that might be 0.8 of an inch gap right there. And up here you're looking at, you know, 1 to 5 maybe. I mean, that's a really tight fitted lid. But the only problem with it is, I mean, for outdoor cooking, I mean, it's got the flat bottom, which, you know, I've got the trivets, and I welded up a couple of them. Here's the other one. It's a little bit taller, and then I've got a taller one yet that's out in the fire pit. And they also make these little jobbers right here. I think this is a Lodge that you can get at Sportsman's Warehouse for like 12 bucks, but honestly, I think maybe if I tighten that rivet up, it might be a little bit better. But it's not quite as stable as, you know, just a fixed trivet. But anyway, so what I did was, you know, to turn this indoor pot into an outdoor pot, what I did was I welded up the trivet, and all that is 3 horseshoes with the tips welded together, and then 3 large nails cut to the same length, and then welded onto the horseshoes. So it's a real nice stable base. Also, this configuration, if you do have the legs, they'll fit in between. So, you know, it works really good for the legged ones too. But the only problem is how do I get coals to stay on this lid? I mean, of course, now that I'm in front of the there we go. You know, I mean, you can kind of get some up here at the top. You know, maybe there. But then as soon as they get about to there, you know, then they'll start slipping off in the way they go. So I did see another fella that used, it's a pie tin that goes around the top of your pie, it protects the crust from burning. And I thought, well, that was kind of cool, but it kind of set up here a little bit. So what I did was I kind of measured this out a little bit, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to need, took a piece of string and then ran it around where I wanted the rim to sit. Measured that out, it was 31 inches. Measured this, and it kind of looked to me like an inch tall ring ought to work pretty good. So I grabbed a piece of 1/8 inch mild, 1/8 inch thick, 1 inch wide, and I think it was 48 inches long. Cut it down, bent it, and look at that. Oh, bent it and then of course welded it and then kind of trued it up a little bit. I mean, it's not perfect like what you would get like on a rolling machine, but you know, for this, I mean, all it's going to do is hold coals. But look at that. Now all of a sudden all these coals just sit on there real nice and pretty. So you can put, you know, however many around the outside and then maybe one on each side of the handle. So I'm pretty excited to get to use this. I'll go ahead and clean it up, oh, probably tonight. And then Sunday, I'm going to go ahead and cook that buffalo rump roast in this, because it should be about the right size. I mean, you know, there's only the 3 of us at home now. My wife, me, and my boy Vance. So this 10-inch pot ought to hold that buffalo roast plus veggies and everything just fine. And, you know, if it works really good, well, then I'll put this pot back in service and get some good use out of it. But anyway, when I was looking for the videos out there on using an indoor cast iron pot or an indoor, I guess they still call these Dutch ovens, even though they don't have the outdoor lid, I was trying to find a good way to do this, and I really wasn't finding much. If you're not a metal worker, and if you don't know a metal worker to be able to make you a ring like this, you know, you could probably do this with just sheet metal. you know, like some galvanized roof flashing. You can usually pick that up at Home Depot by the roll. You know, and that, I mean, although it's galvanized, I mean, you're certainly not going to be cooking with this with hot coals inside, you know. So so that might be an idea. I think they also make it in aluminum flashing, or just find a strip of metal. I don't think it'd have to be an 1/8 inch thick. I mean, all you're holding is, you know, a couple of coals. The rest of the beefiness is, you know, to help it maintain its shape. When you know, when you pick it up, you bump it, and you throw this part in the sink, you know, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so that's how I'm going to cook dinner Sunday night. Like I said, buffalo roast, probably just a little bit of salt and pepper, probably fry up some bacon in here. Oh, the flat bottom instead of the legs, I think that's really going to come in handy when it comes time to preheat this. So, you know, I mean, if you're cooking all the way outside, like, you know, you're camping or something, you know, you use the fire for everything. But if you're cooking on the back patio, then, you know, it'd be really handy just to be able to take this with the flat bottom, stick it on the stovetop, warm it up, maybe go ahead and sear your roast inside this on the stovetop, then the pot's already nice and pre-warmed. Then you can take it outside, set it on the trivet, load the thing up with coals, and then away you go. So, like I said, I think I'm really going to enjoy the flat bottomness of this one. So anyway, so yeah, if you want to set up an indoor oven to cook outside, all you need is, you know, some sort of a ring, you know, to be able to hold the coals on the lid, and then a trivet. Which, like I said, I think you have to make these out of horseshoes. I think that's a rule. You know, I think if you don't make them out of horseshoes, then your food is going to get burned or something like that. I'm just kidding, but I thought it was funny. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Again, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. Find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time.